3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
There is no other institution that has the ability uniquely
Without a heritage, every generation starts over.
to remind the current regime
What your country.
We, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do.
to get back in their box and stay there.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
From the Heritage Foundation, this is Heritage Explains.
In 2025, data analytics company Gallup asked 144,000 people in 140 countries this survey question. It's one they've been asking for decades. Ideally, if you had the opportunity, would you like to move permanently to another country? Or would you prefer to continue living in this country? If the respondent says they would like to move, they're then asked which country they would like to move to. In 2025, the answer to this question was the same as it's always been. Among those who wish to move, the number one destination, by a wide margin, is the United States of America. If you listen to the mainstream American media, you may be surprised by this. But our brethren overseas understand that more than any country in the world, America offers opportunity, the ability for anyone to take their shot. At a time when many Americans are concerned about the state of the economy, we know we need to stay focused on preserving that opportunity for future generations. How do we do that? Enter the American Opportunity Agenda. I sat down with Dan Kowalski, director of the Grover M. Herman Center for the Federal Budget here at the Heritage Foundation, to understand exactly what that is. Dan Kowalski, welcome back to Heritage Explains.
Happy to be here.
So we are sitting down today because you and your colleagues have put out a new report setting the American Opportunity Agenda. And there's a lot in this report that we want to talk about, but kind of give us the top line. What are you really trying to get across here?
Well, the American Opportunity Agenda is really, we want to promote low taxes, light regulation, and abundant American energy. Those are the three overarching policies that we should be pursuing. We know from the experience of 2017 to 2020 that those policies lead to superb economic growth. We got knocked off the track by the COVID pandemic, and we need to return to those economic growth principles. Now, we know that you can't do everything at once. And we know that there's limited time for Congress to act before the upcoming election. And so what we've done in our paper is we've put out a selection of policies that we think Congress can do quickly, make some strides on affordability, and get a win for conservatives to give us a reason to go to the polls this November.
The last time we had you on our show, which was only a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about reconciliation, which is a method of passing bills within the Congress without the need for a supermajority, just a simple majority in Congress.
Right.
This time, reconciliation is back. It's part of what you're doing here. Can you talk about the relationship between reconciliation and the American Opportunity Agenda?
The American Opportunity Agenda is more the big picture where we want to go. Tactically, in order to get legislation enacted right now, there's no alternative but reconciliation, because we've seen the Democrats in the Senate are going to be obstructive on anything that requires 60 votes. And so if you want to move forward, you have to move forward with the 51 vote vehicle, and that's reconciliation.
So at this point, I want to do a little bit of a lightning round of the items that are included within the American Opportunity Agenda. These are all areas where you think we can get a win. So let's talk about the first one, which is waste, fraud, and abuse, particularly within government benefits programs. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think the first place we need to look for there is in SNAP, the food stamps program. Essentially, in food stamps, if you say this is your income, they got to believe you. They can't hold your benefit until they check, and they states are not required to actually run you against a database of people who are working and who have jobs and what their income is. They don't have to do that, so they don't. What do we say? We say, I'm checked against databases all the time when I want to buy something. Why shouldn't you get the same thing when you're looking for government food benefits? And so that's one of the things we say, do a data match against SNAP recipients. And another thing we do on SNAP, it's very loose how you are connected to the welfare system. So if I handed you a brochure on TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, you asked for assistance, and so you are categorically eligible for food stamps because you looked for assistance. And so you might have $1 million in the bank, but be temporarily out of work. We're going to give you food assistance and not have you draw on your assets for your temporary need. Simple changes save you hundreds of billions of dollars over 10 years by basically making folks who want to enter the welfare system have the same look that other people get all the time.
Next up, one of the components of the illegal immigration conversation is remittances. When folks work here in the United States and then they're sending their money back overseas. And this is a little bit of an under-discussed component of the illegal immigration conversation, but it's an important one. Can you talk about that?
Mexico gets tens of billions of dollars a year from workers in the U.S. who are transmitting money to Mexico. India is another big one. There's major immigrant groups are sending their money overseas. Well and good. And they should be able to do that as long as they are lawfully in the United States. And what we're saying here is that don't allow people to send money overseas if they're either on a deportation list or they're not lawfully employed. You're essentially letting them send ill-gotten gains abroad, and we're saying, cut that off. And if you want to stop people from coming here illegally, stop the ability for them to send that money back to their family in the home country.
And what's the enforcement mechanism for that? How do we actually accomplish that?
Essentially, you'd be looking for proof of employability at the time when they're trying to make the remittance.
One of the biggest line items in state and the federal budget is healthcare, specifically programs like Medicare, Medicaid. You have some things to say about that as well.
Right. On the Medicaid program, we want to make sure that single adults are getting the appropriate kind of care. Obamacare created an expansion population, single adults under 138% of poverty. They were able to go on to Medicaid. Medicaid's typically for the elderly and kids. So they put adults in there and provided a larger financial incentive for states to do that. But what you end up having is you have single adults going into Medicaid, which is expensive and subpar service, hard to get a Medicaid provider, when what we could be doing is putting those people into the exchange insurance program, which is less costly. That's how you save money on that and provides better care. You're probably not cutting anybody off, but you're not subsidizing state Medicaid programs by having these single adults. And that's what we're trying to do on the Medicaid side.
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. We advocate for getting this reconciliation bill done by the 4th of July, if possible, because on the 4th of July, abortion will again be provided using federal taxpayer dollars. The One Big Beautiful Bill last year defunded Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers for 1 year. The bill was signed on the 4th of July. On the 4th of July this year, that money will start to flow again. And reconciliation is again going to be the vehicle for being able to continue that ban, just as it was implemented last year.
Last topic we want to talk about in the report is the Federal Reserve, and specifically interest payments. What do you have to say there?
The Federal Reserve pays banks interest on deposits they make at the Federal Reserve. And so there's zero risk in that. And the Federal Reserve pays a fairly competitive interest rate on that. What that leads to is banks are going to take the risk-free money from the Federal Reserve rather than going out and making loans to small businesses, doing the things that you would expect banks to do in order to earn their interest. So the Federal Reserve now actually operates at a loss because of the money that we're paying to banks on their reserves, 40 to 50% of which goes to foreign banks. This is a new authority, relatively new authority for the Federal Reserve. They got it about 10 years ago. For the first 95 years of the Federal Reserve's existence, they didn't have this authority. They got the authority. The balance sheet grew. Some cause and effect there potentially. You have a Fed chairman who says, I want to shrink the balance sheet. We're saying, great, let's take away this enabling tool, this interest payment to banks for not taking on any risk, and return the Federal Reserve to profitability and help you shrink the Fed's balance sheet. Chairman Marsh. That's what we want to do.
For all of these, like we mentioned at the top, the vehicle probably to move these objectives forward is the reconciliation process in Congress. What does the road to that look like?
I know that the House is seriously thinking about putting together a budget resolution in the coming weeks. Reconciliation as a process that's unlocked by the House and the Senate agreeing on a budget resolution and in which committees to actually reconcile. So I do believe there is interest in getting reconciliation done this year. The House has already expressed an interest. We've heard in the Senate side some interest as well. The president has recently said he would like to get additional funds for defense through the reconciliation process, so that helps unlock it over there. What we're saying here at Heritage is, in addition, there are a number of things you can do, common sense kind of tweaks like we've discussed that can, pocket $1 trillion or so for the taxpayer while you're taking care of your defense need and be able to deliver some conservative policy wins soon before the election.
For us at Heritage, we are very interested in ensuring that we are using taxpayer funds in a responsible manner, that we are that we're living within our means as a country. If we're able to pass some or all of these objectives, what benefit would there be to the average everyday American?
I think certainly there are a couple of other healthcare reforms that we didn't talk about that relate more specifically to individuals. We have a proposal that would allow businesses who are paying for most of the health care to have access to information that will allow them to negotiate price with providers and plans to, if you as a shopper, as a consumer of health care, find a lower cost provider that you like, we'll let you pocket part of the difference for future health care needs. That's how you're going to get people to be conscious of their costs in healthcare. So we have proposals that will tend to lower prices. The Federal Reserve directly has an impact on the interest rates that you pay. If there's a floor interest rate that you're getting from the government risk-free, you're not going to compete for loans for a small business. Everything's going to be above that. And then just generally, anything you can do to reduce the deficit and the draw of the government borrowing on the private sector is going to tend to lower interest rates, which is going to make homes more affordable.
Dan Kowalski, thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you to Dan Kowalski for his contribution to today's episode. You can find more of Dan's work at heritage.org, and you'll find a link to his report, Setting the American Opportunity Agenda, in the show notes. And thanks to you for listening to Heritage Explains. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, you can reach out to us at heritageexplains@heritage.org. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Heritage Explains is brought to you by more than 500,000 members of the Heritage Foundation. It's written and produced by Mark Gagne, Lauren Evans, and John Popp.